Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL, and today we're working on pattern number 3936 on friendshipbracelets.net. A little four-color pattern that we altered greatly when we doubled it. So the original pattern was kind of interesting and was it was changing it the way I wanted to change one of the ones that we did a while back. Right? Remember we tried to like shift them and off place it, but it wouldn't work. This time off placing it totally worked. In fact, I think it may have worked better than I had anticipated. Mind you, there's some bits where like the white, in order to make these like elongated boxes, that'll come up a bit later on, those got a little bit tricky because of the way that the strings had to move throughout the whole thing. It's a means to an end, and it makes it turn out kind of interesting. And at the end of the day, the bracelet looks amazing. It is really super cool. In the original pattern, I had green and red were the two other colors, and I thought that seemed a little bit too much like a Christmas theme, and I didn't want to do that. So I changed it out to a blue and an orange. And I did kind of worry about the blue. I kind of felt like the blue was going to be too much of a dark color, alongside of having the black. But it was a really kind of a vibrant blue, and I think it turned out absolutely perfect. I think it really went well in this instance. So I was really excited as it was coming along. It's one of those things where part of me was like, yes, it will work, and the other part of me is like, are you sure? Like sometimes, colors can get lost when they're kind of too close together or whatever. But this worked out really super cool. So yeah, that you can already see like the first of the elongated white boxes, and again, just the way those go together is a little bit weird. In fact, a lot of how this thing goes together feels a little bit odd. So yes, I had to look at the pattern almost all the time, and I was working on trying to do the best segment knotting I could, which, by the way, so we know that 80 minutes is right around the mark that I can get a bracelet of this size done. But typically it's like 83 or 85, it's always a little bit over. This one was almost 80 minutes exactly. And that's even with me having to look at the pattern a lot because of how complex it kind of really gets. And the only thing I can owe it to the getting a good time on this was the fact that segment knotting really worked. There's the way it divides into like bigger boxes allowed me to kind of concentrate on a box area at a time, and because there's four colors, there's a lot of times where it's like you bring one down until it reaches orange or until it reaches whatever, and it's in those moments that it just makes it really super easy. It's still an intermediate bracelet. Like beginners will not enjoy themselves with this, but if you're a little seasoned, you've been doing this a little while, I'm pretty sure you're really going to enjoy this. And the outcome, like I said, it is a absolutely gorgeous bracelet. I don't think I had any mistakes in it. But again, that comes down to the fact that it was kind of really clear where certain parts of it went and which way they were going. Could I have made this a little bit faster? I think so. In this instance, like while I'm bringing the black string down, it was all going to the left. I think if I had concentrated on making the segments to build up spaces that primarily went to the right, I think it would have been just a little bit faster. But like when I get started on a project like this, I haven't taken a lot of time to try to work out which way would be the best segmenting. I kind of go on instinct. And I think as I get progressively further into the bracelet, I start finding ways that just make it a little bit easier, go a little bit faster. And yeah, and I think that's true with this one especially. I think there was some instances in here where it's like, yeah, I can, instead of going off to the left, which is slower, basically it's how you hold the strings. Like going to the right, I can hold the cluster of the ones that are yet to be done, and then just bring the one string moving down really easily. When I'm going to the left, I have to pick up the string that it's going to and bring it and knot, and then find the next string and bring the knot. So it's just a preference thing, and it's just of how I got used to doing the knots. Mind you, a lot of times you can't see really how I'm holding my hands or how I'm doing the knots, because my habit, my way of doing things might not work really well for you. It might, might hurt your fingers. It might be just uncomfortable. And I think everybody has to develop that, how they want to hold the strings and how they want to do it, in order to try to avoid having any complications like that, becoming painful and doing it. Mind you, if you're going, like, the easy way to tell if you're doing it in a way that's bad is if you go for an extended period, like make a whole bracelet, and then your hands are hurting, you're probably doing it in a way that's not conducive to you. So my suggestion to that would be, try experimenting, try to find ways, because like for me, I don't pull the strings hard until it's right at that very last moment, and I give it a little snug tug just to get it to the firm tightness, because I don't want my hands clamping down hard on anything for a prolonged period. It would become painful. It would not be good. So it's little things, it's nuanced things like that will work out in your favor to make it so that way you can go through one of these and not suffer. Another great thing to consider is your posture. I have an easel set at my desk, and my desk can be raised and lowered, so I can actually put it to like right where it's a really good comfortable fit. You might not always have that. You might, let's say you have a clipboard. I used to work off my lap, and I had a clipboard that was about 18 or 19 inches long, so that way it held it out away from me far enough that I could not very easily. So I mean, there's different ways of doing it. Definitely explore it until you get comfortable, because the last thing that this whole hobby should be is something that is uncomfortable for you. And some of it just takes a little bit of practice, honestly. There's the repetition after a while will build up the areas that you use the most. But yeah, I just want you guys to be able to do this stuff and have fun doing it. I don't think if it was painful, there would be much fun in doing these. And I make stuff. I go for hours sometimes making like some of the bags and stuff that I've done here. So yeah, if you're wanting to do the bigger projects and stuff, it's gonna all start with becoming comfortable with what you're working with. So yeah, I think it's gonna be easier for me to figure out where we are on the bracelet this time, because the way the shapes move from one side to the other, so I know exactly where I'm at right now. Again, this pattern is so modded out, it doesn't really look at all anything like the original, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm not sure if the pattern would be able to go onto the other web pages because of the way that it bounces and stuff, like because it's a kind of a lengthy thing before it repeats. But yeah, I think it turned out really super cool. And I'm kind of excited to see some of you guys actually make this, because it could be done in so many different kind of color combinations, because the fact that there's 4 colors and each color, it's like an even number of strings, so that kind of possibly, I would think, makes it easier. So yeah. Oh, and I can tell you, I did this whole thing, this whole bracelet during a live stream for my YouTube members. So that was pretty cool. Like actually having somebody to talk to and stuff. That's kind of why you'll see some pauses in there. Was trying to. I have the pattern in front of me here, and then off to the side was this conversation window thing for the YouTube, and yeah, I had to move that around and make it so I could talk, which was fun. It made it. I really enjoy it. If you want to like actually see things getting made in real time and talk to me and you know make it more entertaining for me as well, yeah, just become a YouTube member. It would be awesome. Actually, let me just thank my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members for making this stuff possible, because their support helps me to have string and lights and all the stuff that is needed to make these videos happen, including motivation. Motivation is huge from these guys, because I kind of feel like I owe it to them to bring out the best of what I can make. And yeah. Yeah, this is just, it's a really interesting pattern. The way that the two whites in the middle keep kind of traveling together. Oh, and by the way, I think I mentioned in the pattern making that the black strings were going to get used the most. Absolutely 100% right on that. In fact, all the rest of the strings were really still very long, but the black ones were getting kind of short, so I was glad to have cut them into the 1/3 lengths. So if you're new around here, basically in order to kind of use, because in this case, right, I needed 4 strands. So if I cut my string into thirds, right, I take 2 skeins, that leaves me with 2/3 of a skein left wound up onto bobbins, ready to do some other project. And that way I have the most optimal chance of reusing it in something else. If I cut to random lengths, I might end up with a nice long piece that's maybe 1 meter long, but that's too short to really use in anything. What was the point in trying to save up to have a long piece of something unusable? So when I cut it into thirds, all 3 pieces work. And if I'm doubling up the strings, that's 2 of those get used, right? And then 1 goes off to the little bin and gets put into future projects, which had some, you know, I often go through there and come up with interesting, different kind of patterns or whatever based on what strings are available. Or sometimes I go with those really crazy, all the colors all coming in, you know, different whatever. That too can come from those scraps. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, a lot of advice for, like, you know, doing stuff here today. I don't know. I'm in a really good mood, energetic, feeling awesome. So yeah, probably because I was so happy about how this bracelet turned out. It's really fun. So like, I know where we are. We just crossed this part. We're going into this one. Trying to think if there's anything else that I thought of while doing it. Like I said, the segmenting really made the big difference, and you can see here, like, I started doing like the long row going off to the side. That pause, I'm pretty sure, was me figuring out where I am in the overall part of it, because again, I don't want to get stuck not doing the right number of sections, which in this case is pretty easy because I know that it ends with the thing on the right hand side. So yeah, it kind of not as hard as some of the other stuff I've done. So yeah, I definitely think, I don't think I would want to make this into a bag because it's so complicated, but I think it would look good as one. If somebody really was looking for a pattern that might be really, really interesting to, you know, because basically I've doubled it, right? But if you double this and leave it with the same offsets, right, that's going to be really interesting. It would be what? This is 16. That would be 32 strings, right? And then you double that again and again, and now you're starting to get in the ballpark of a small bag. I think you'd have to do at least 4. No. 2, 4, 6. Then you have to do like 8 of them to get to like phone bag size. But at that point, this would be one of those kind of designs that would look very much like like some of the designer bags out there, right? Because of, you know, the way that it repeats, you know, like a wallpaper, it repeats itself. And yeah, I think it could look really cool. So for anybody who's looking to do something big and crazy, this might be just your thing. Yeah, you can see now I'm starting to like work out the high part on the left and then bring it down to the right. And I think that started making things go a lot easier for me. So yeah, if you're going to imitate one of the areas of the knotting, it's probably this one. What else can I tell you? I don't know. I don't think that I got a whole lot of insight other than the fact that like I really did have to look at the pattern to the whole duration of doing this. Especially like, see how that center thing, the white there, it's so weird how that comes together. And like, see now both whites are going off to the right hand side. That it just wasn't intuitive, but it works out to make these little white boxes how they are. I don't know. I think it's super, super cool. Oh yeah, still looking for people to send me the blindsided creations. That's basically where you give me a pattern to work on, and I start on it without having seen what it is. And yeah, so you gotta do is send me a pattern number, which website the pattern number goes to, and the number of strings, so I can have a template ready. And it's one of my kind of favorites things to do on this channel. But not a lot of people have sent them in. It's mostly been like 1 or 2 people so far. So I want to encourage you guys to come in and send in what your ideas are, and I'll give you a shout out. You know, tell people where to find you on Instagram or whatever. So yeah, you could let me know that as well. Like, that would be helpful. Yeah, now it's starting to get right down to the end here. The first of the blue diamonds on the right hand side, yeah, there's just one more of that. So yeah, pretty cool bracelet overall. If you have any thoughts, questions, stuff like that, leave it in the comments. I do try to get back to everybody. Back tomorrow with another interesting bracelet design. It's another just black and white, but it should be interesting. It should be kind of fun. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I get kind of excited to looking over like what is going to happen, and because I don't necessarily know exactly how it'll work out before I get started, and that kind of helps drive me to like actually make these things, is because I want to see the end product. I want to see how it turned out. Like this, I was really excited the whole time making this because it was just looking so darn cool. So, and hopefully somebody likes it. Hopefully somebody, oh, I do have an insight. There's a elongated white box at the bottom of it, and like the pattern says you have to go do all the left, rights, whatever, but it ends right there. So it doesn't matter where the other strings went. So I just went straight off the edge with it, which made the braids a little bit more interesting because more of the whites went off to the right hand side than what was on the left, and it just kind of balanced out the colors in a different kind of way. So like right at the end, it didn't matter which way I was going, so I took advantage of that. So yeah, you'll see it. That's right there. Like, instead of bouncing back, it just goes to the side, and that put more oranges on this side and more whites on that side. I think that kind of made it turn out pretty darn cool. So, all right, guys. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me, and yeah. As always, don't get your strings in a bunch.